Mike Gallagher.
The Dinesh D'Souza story is a fascinating one. You know who he is. He's the renowned filmmaker with top-grossing documentaries, 2016, Obama's America, and America's website, DineshD'Souza.com. He authored Stealing America, What My Experience with Criminal Gangs Taught Me About Obama, Hillary, and the Democratic Party. Let's welcome back to the Mike Gallagher Show, the one and only Dinesh D'Souza. How have you been, Dinesh?
Hello, Mike. I've been great, and I've been busy. So
I know you have. I know you have.
Yeah.
And I've been following the Dinesh D'Souza comings and goings for some time. First of all, before we get into the Iowa caucus and this fascinating love affair that millennials have with a 74-year-old socialist from Vermont, which I saw you tweeted about over the weekend, let's talk about what you've been through. In a nutshell, you've done these anti-Obama works of I think just wonderful, brilliant works exposing Obama, sort of theorizing about his roots, where he comes from, his father, all of that. After that happened, you got in trouble with the feds for a campaign finance violation, and you wound up being convicted. Everybody, was saying, my gosh, hardly a coincidence. But you did it. You gave some money to a candidate who was a friend of yours that violated campaign finance laws. You paid your debt to society. Now there's fast forward, the Department of Justice is defying a request from the House Oversight Committee in Congress, refusing to turn over the files regarding your prosecution. Can you bring us up to date on that, because it's unbelievable what you're going through now?
Well, the Justice Department's behavior is both very strange and very telling. It is strange because my case is complete. So earlier, if they were reluctant to turn over the file, they could argue that the case is ongoing. The prosecutors need to be able to prepare their case without being interfered with. They don't want to reveal their consultations. Anyway, all that's irrelevant. So now their reluctance to turn over the file would seem to suggest that there's something in the file that they don't want the congressional oversight people to see. Congressman Peter DeSantis of Florida is the one who smelled a rat. He followed my case. He noticed that there's no one who went into the lockup in American history for doing what I did. Mm-hmm. He also noticed that the government prosecutors deliberately misrepresented a whole series of cases to make it look to the judge that it's normal for people to get prison for doing what I did. In reality, they doctored the facts of those cases, removing all the references to corruption, whereas my case involved no corruption whatsoever. So I think it's really interesting because this is just the kind of thing that is very fishy. There's stuff under the rocks, but the real question is, will the congressional investigators have a chance to look under those rocks? In that sense, this case is reminiscent of the IRS scandal and a lot of other scandals in which the government tries to clam up and prevent people from the Obama administration from being put under any genuine accountability.
Well, what is the Department of Justice's official explanation for refusing to turn over the files of a completed case?
Well, if you watch the conversation between Congressman DeSantis and the Justice Department's Assistant Secretary, mm-hmm. You notice that the guy just keeps dodging. And what he says is things like, well, this is a very sensitive matter. Prosecutors just don't like their consultations to be made public. We are willing to brief you about what's in the file, but we're not willing to give you the file. So I think what Congress has got to realize is they've got to issue a subpoena because these kinds of good faith requests are getting nowhere.
Will they?
I think they will. I think they've realized that we've got to go through the process, and the process, unfortunately, does move slowly, step by step, you might say. But the real question is, does Congress have the determination to see it through? And with DeSantis, I'm confident that he does.
Well, it's a fascinating thing. We want to keep our eye on that, and I hope you'll come back and update us on how this thing plays out. Let's talk about today's big day. I saw one of your tweets over the weekend. Of course, I follow you on Twitter, and you talked about why millennials are fond of Bernie Sanders. And I just had a Bernie Sanders caller earlier tell me, well, he offers free college, and that has to be paid for by Wall Street because of the bank bailout, and Wall Street's got to be accountable. I mean, is it as simple in your mind, and you're one of the smartest guys I've met, is it as simple as his support, as simple as just people who like the idea of free stuff, free college, free phones, just free stuff that Wall Street or the 1% has to pay for?
I think it's two things. I mean, I think the main reason driving Sanders' popularity, broadly speaking, is the fact that in their hearts, the Democrats know that Hillary is a crook. They know that there's a gangster-ism about the Clintons. That was even known when the Clintons left office in 2000. And that was part of what drove support to Obama, the idea that he was cleaner than the Clintons. And so all of that sort of sludge is dredging up again, and I think some of that is benefiting Sanders. But I think the second reason is if you actually follow Sanders' life, his life is essentially that of a perpetual impoverished student. The guy basically half lives in his car. He's always sleeping in other people's basements. He borrows money. He can't pay for his health insurance.
He's disheveled.
Ultimately, until he gets a government job, he can't even support himself. So he's reminiscent of a whole generation of young people today who are essentially perpetual students. They go from undergrad, community college to state college to graduate school. They're essentially not only unemployed, but unemployable because essentially their education has amounted to a diet of left-wing slogans. Then they hear the same slogans from Sanders, and they're like, yeah, maybe we can make it the same way this guy did by doing nothing.
Right, he speaks to me. Dinesh D'Souza's book, Stealing America, What My Experience with Criminal Gangs Taught Me About Obama, Hillary, the Democratic Party. It's a great, great read. And Dinesh, quick 30 seconds left. Final, give me your crystal ball prognostication in Iowa. Who wins on the Republican side? Who wins on the Democrat side?
Well, this is not my area of expertise, but I will say that if Trump and Sanders win, we're actually seeing a sea change in both parties. Right. The Democratic Party lurching far to the left, the Republican Party undergoing a complete transformation.
No question about it. Dinesh D'Souza, always great getting your perspective. All the best. Keep fighting the good fight. I'm glad you could join us.